Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into another video. We've got another ranking video. Today is the wide receivers, and I'm very excited because this is another very talented wide receiver class that we have. The past few years have been very, very talented, with the 2020 class being very talented, 2021 as well, and this one seems to be no different. I wouldn't say it's as top heavy as the last two, but there is a lot of depth. So if you need a wide receiver, this is the time to grab one. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, as we are so close to 300 subscribers. We're about 13 away. Let's see if we can hit that before the draft. It would be very, very greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, just leave a like. Let me know your wide receiver rankings in the comments. And with that being said, I want to remind you that Jesus is King. I pray that you give your life to him. He's got a plan and a purpose for you, and I just truly hope you give your life to Jesus. He died on the cross for our sins, and he rose from the dead 3 days later. And the day he rose from the dead was Easter, and that is today. Today is Easter Sunday, the time I'm recording this. I believe this will come out the following Monday, though. But nonetheless, Jesus did die on the cross for our sins, and I just truly hope you accept him as your Lord and Savior. And, it's up to you if you do, but I feel like it's important as a Christian to share that message, to share the gospel, to get that out to as many people as possible so they can hear the word and they can be saved and spend eternity with Jesus and God in heaven. Now, with that being said, let's jump into the disclaimer for these rankings that I do in every single video. So, this list is based on my scouting report and tape study that I have done throughout the college football season and the off season. So if you disagree with my list, you can. Disagreements are going to happen, and that's fine. But if you do so respectfully, please. Everyone has different opinions on what they look for in a player, and they'll rank players differently. And if everyone had the same rankings and opinions, the world would be a very, very boring place. So I just ask that you just be respectful if you disagree. And then finally, I will have a draft stream for all 3 days. So I'll be streaming live for day 1, day 2, day 3, every single pick. I'm going to react to them. We're going to get that out. It's going to be so fun. So I already have made the first stream. It is scheduled for 11 days from now. We'll have that stream, and then afterwards, that night, I'll make one for the following day, and then that night, I'll make one for the following morning for day 3. It'll be a great, great time, so make sure to tune into those because, they're going to be super duper fun, and, just come and chat, hang out. No spoilers in the chat, but that's really my only rule besides of the other rules, but we'll go over that more in the stream. Let's jump into these rankings. My number 10 receiver in this class is Calvin Austin III, a wide receiver out of Memphis. There were two receivers that I was debating going here. It was either going to be Calvin Austin, which I ended up giving the nod to, or it was going to be David Bell out of Purdue. And there are a couple receivers that are going to be very talented that are left off this list. David Bell, obviously, John Mechie, and a couple other guys. So Calvin Austin is 5'8", 170 pounds, and he is a very solid route runner. He's going to be able to get separation at the top of his routes, and he's going to be able to get open that way. But he also has a lot of speed, quickness, and explosiveness when coming off the line of scrimmage, getting that release. He's got very, very solid hands, and he can catch the football in stride to continue taking it down the field. A very, very, very solid receiver. His separation skills are elite. He can separate with his route running or with his speed and quickness. Either one works, and he is great at that. And then he does have versatility. He can play outside, or he can play in the slot if you need him to. He'll pick up a lot of yards yards after the catch, run after the catch, whatever you need, he will pick it up. So anything you need, he can get more yards after the play. He's a big playability waiting to happen, and he tracks the ball really well in the air. If it's up in the air, he's going to be able to find it, make the catch, and continue running in stride. A very, very talented receiver out of Memphis. And during his time there, he had 156 receptions for 2,541 yards and a 16.3 average. He also scored 22 touchdowns with Memphis. I believe they're the Memphis Tigers, right? I almost said Grizzlies, but that's obviously a basketball team, the Memphis Tigers. My number 9 receiver in this class is going to be George Pickens out of Georgia. He's definitely taken a fall since the pre-draft rankings where I had him, I think, as maybe my 4th, 5th receiver. Now he's at number 9, but he's 6'3", 200 pounds coming out of the University of Georgia, the national champions. Now he has great route running ability. He can run almost any route in the route tree that you ask him to. He's got great separation skills with his route running, but his speed, quickness, and explosiveness is really a lack to be desired. He's not really the fastest guy, the quickest guy. He doesn't have that much explosiveness, but he can get separation with his route running ability. He is more the prototypical X receiver. He's going to be very beneficial lining up off of the ball in the backfield, not on the ball or not in the slot, but off the ball receiver. I feel like that will be his ideal role in the NFL. He also picks up a lot of oh my gosh, I can't talk today. He gets a lot of rack ability as well. He tracks the ball very well. He's going to be able to make the catch. His football IQ is meh. Sometimes he doesn't know when to break off his routes early, when to cut in, when to cut back. And then I would say he doesn't really have versatility. I think that he's going to have to play an outside receiver. I don't think he's got the ability to play the slot. He plays the X. That would be the ideal position that I would play him at. He could, that's where I feel most comfortable. I don't think he should play, honestly, I don't think he should play on the line. I think he should play off the line. But that's just my opinion. And during his time at Georgia, he had 90 receptions for 1,347 yards. He had an average about 15 yards per play, and he scored 14 touchdowns for the Bulldogs. Yeah, so now my number 8 receiver is going to be Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. The best Division II football school is obviously North Dakota State. So many players have translated from there and have made the jump to the NFL. You look at Carson Wentz, Trey Lance. Christian Watson now is a very solid prospect. There's a lot of guys from North Dakota State, and they produce some good talent for being a Division II. It's obviously the best Division II school you can go to, but yeah. Now Christian Watson, the first thing I'm gonna say, his separation is a little bit iffy. He does have a hard time separating, but I do like his route running and release. He's got a lot of upper body strength to push the defenders off, obviously, when they're within 5 yards, and get separation that way. And I do like the release. He has quick feet to get off the line. And he's got some quickness and elusiveness. So when he's in open space, he's going to be able to evade defenders, make them miss in the open space. And he's got the quickness to continue running. And I wouldn't say he has jets, but he does have the quickness to get down the field in open space if he needs to. He's great at ball tracking, and that's something you'll notice. A lot of these receivers are really, really good at tracking the ball and going to make the catch. He's got a lot of football IQ. He knows when to cut routes off early if he needs to break in sooner because the defender is forcing them to. If he needs to cut back, he's great at picking those up and knowing what to do on the fly. And he's got a lot of versatility, whether you want to play him in the slot or outside. I do think he can play both roles. And Christian Watson really wowed me at the combine. Obviously, you can't let the combine affect what their tape was on the field, but it's kind of a good cross-check to see, did they play that fast? Did they play that well? And yeah, Christian Watson had a great combine. He's 6'4", 208 pounds, in case I forgot to say that. And during his time at North Dakota State, he had 104 receptions for 2,134 yards. He averaged about 20.6 yards per play, and he scored 14 touchdowns for the Bison. At number 7, I have Skyy Moore, another guy who impressed me at the combine. He's 5'9.5" and 195 pounds, who's a great route runner. I would say more of his route running comes in the more medium to short routes. The deep routes, I do feel like he can improve on, but he's got great hands. He is going to catch almost every ball that comes his way. He's got great ball tracking. He's going to track the ball, and he's going to be able to go up, high point it where he needs to, and he's just going to be where the ball needs to be when it is thrown. His separation is a lack to be desired. I do think he has some improvement that needs to go there. There's some flashes, but definitely some work needs to be done. He's got the rack ability once again, and he's got speed, but it's not going to be the burners that you think of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, these fast guys, but he does have speed, just not that elite type of burner speed. Now, he does have versatility, I would say. I would say his most ideal role on the offense is going to be in the slot, but a guy that I trust said he looks like he could be a very solid returner, and I kind of see it. I kind of see it, the speed. I would like a little bit more explosiveness with my returner, but I do think he's got the speed to be a returner. He's got a little bit of explosiveness, but not that whole thing there that you'd like to see. But someone I trust said he would be a great returner, and then, I would say I back that up with my scouting as well. During his time with Western Michigan, he had 171 receptions for 2,482 yards. He averaged about 14.5 yards per play, and he scored 16 touchdowns. Now, my number 6 receiver is going to be Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. This is where we get into the top echelon of receivers, because I would say for me, Calvin Austin is going to be a 3rd-round pick. George Pickens is going to be a 3rd-round pick. Christian Watson is going to be a 2nd-round pick. Skyy Moore is going to be a 2nd-round pick. And now I would say Jahan Dotson is going to be a late 1st, early 2nd-round pick. And then all the guys in front of Jahan Dotson, I do believe, are going to be 1st-round picks. Jahan Dotson has great route running ability. He can run almost every route in the route tree, and he does so with that explosiveness. You're going to see him explode off the ball, explode into his routes, explode on the cuts. He is very, very good at route running, and he does it sharply. He's got great hands. He's going to catch almost everything that comes his way, and he does so with a lot of speed. His release and separation are great. Obviously, like I said, they do so with explosiveness and speed, and it's just something very, very impressive. And he's got a lot of versatility to play outside or in the slot, and he's got the football IQ to know what to do on the routes, if to break them off early, if to go deeper. He knows what to do on the fly, and it's very, very impressive what Jahan Dotson did for Penn State. I wasn't super high on him, but then when I flipped on the tape, he really stood out to me. He's 5'11", 178 pounds, and just a very, very solid receiver. My uncle honestly put me on to him. Like, I knew who he was, but my uncle kept saying, "Oh, this Jahan Dotson dude, I like him." Obviously, we're Broncos fans, so we're not going to draft a receiver. I'm trying to slow down because I know I talk fast. But my uncle said, this Jahan Dotson, I really like him as a receiver. Obviously, like I said, we're Broncos fans, so we don't need a receiver. But yeah, Jahan Dotson is very, very impressive. During his time with the Nittany Lions, he had 183 receptions for 2,757 yards, a 15.1 average, and he scored 25 touchdowns. Now, moving on to the guys who I think are surefire first-round locks in this draft class, and that's going to be Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. I forgot to write down his height and weight. I believe he's 6'2", 225 pounds. Now, his route running is not great. I will be that. He isn't as defined when running the routes, and I think that is something he'll need to improve on when he gets to the NFL. He also didn't have a great combine, which, it's hard to judge, because if you're not going to, how I judge it, if I'm not going to take the combine and say, oh yeah, they had a great combine, so they're going to skyrocket up the list. I can't say, oh, they had a bad combine, so they're going to skyrocket down. But, it does help fluctuate, and Treylon Burks at one point, it was crazy. So he was like my number 6 receiver pre-draft. And then during the season, he rose up to 2. And then before the combine started, he was number 1. And then after his combine, he started to fall down a little bit. But I still think if he goes to the right situation, he will be, and with the right development, he can be a solid receiver. I mean, he's got great hands. He's going to make a lot of catches. He doesn't have a whole lot of speed. And sometimes it looks that way, and then sometimes it looks like he kicks it into another gear when he's in the open space to run down the sidelines. I don't think he'll be a slot receiver, though. He's definitely going to have to play on the outside. He releases really well in the slot, but when it comes to releasing on the outside, he's struggled. He's got a lot of rack ability. Football IQ, he's got it. And then he is, I'd say, I don't know. It's hard to say he's versatile. I think he belongs in the slot, but I know a lot of people or yeah, I know a lot of people like him on the outside as well. So I guess he's kind of got some versatility depending on who you ask. I'm kind of still undecided on Treylon Burks. I'm so torn on him. He's an interesting prospect to me, but because of that interest, and I'm not really sure how I would personally use him, he's going to be lower on my list than maybe your list. But I still think he's got a solid chance to be an elite receiver and develop into a great receiver. But right now, I just don't think he has that. And during his time at Arkansas, he had 146 receptions for 2,399 yards. He averaged about 16.4 yards per play, and he scored 18 touchdowns. My number 4 wide receiver is who was my top wide receiver coming into this year, and that's Chris Olave, wide receiver out of Ohio State. He really did have an impressive combine. He is the best route runner in this class. He can run almost every route on the route tree. He's got elite separation with not only the routes, but with his speed and explosiveness. He's got great hands. He's going to be able to catch anything that comes his way. He's got a very solid catch radius too, so anything around him he will be able to bring in. He's got a solid release. He's going to pick up those rack yards, of course. He's got the football IQ to know what to do in an immediate instance when he needs to change up his route, if he needs to cut in, cut out. Like I've been saying throughout this whole video, he's got that football IQ. He's able to track the ball really well, find where it needs to be, high point the ball if he needs to, and be where he needs to be when the ball is thrown downfield, so he's able to make that big catch. He's got a lot of speed and explosiveness for that big playability that you like to see. Chris Olave is just a very talented receiver. He's obviously one of 2 wide receivers that are going to be drafted in the first round this year. Chris Olave, obviously, and then Garrett Wilson, who we'll get to in a little bit. But then also in next year's draft, Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. He's going to be a very solid receiver coming out next year. So we'll be on the lookout for him as well. During his time at Ohio State, Olave had 175 receptions for 2,702 yards. He averaged about 15.4 yards per play, and he scored 35 touchdowns for the Buckeyes. Now we're moving on to the top 3, and number 3 is going to be Drake London out of USC. And Drake London is a 6'4", 219-pound receiver. I forgot to mention Chris Olave's height. He's 6'1", 188 pounds. But Drake London is a very tall receiver at 6'4", 219 pounds. He's a very, very solid route runner. His separation is not the greatest, I won't lie. And then he's also not super quick, not super explosive coming out of his routes. He does get some separation, though, at the top of his routes. That's where a majority of the separation will be, is with that route running at the top and separating from defenders there. But he might be the best at tracking the ball in this class and finding where it is. And he just makes some very, very impressive catches. He also has a lot of football IQ with his route running. And he's a big play threat down the field. If you let him get open down the field, he will make you pay. I might not be super high on Drake London as a lot of people are, but I still think he is a very, very solid prospect and someone who I do need to do a little bit more research on. I won't lie. I haven't done the proper tape study on Drake London that I should have, but maybe after this video here, I'm going to go do some more tape study to get a more feel of Drake London as a prospect. And during his time with the Trojans, he had 160 receptions for 2,153 yards. He averaged about 13.5 yards per play, and he scored 15 touchdowns. Moving on to number 2, it is going to be Garrett Wilson, the other Ohio State wide receiver. And while Chris Olave was more of that route running guy, Garrett Wilson is that big play ability guy. He's 6 foot tall, 183 pounds. He does have solid route running, not like Chris Olave's, but what he has is he has great speed, great explosiveness, and Olave does have that, but I'm going to stop comparing them because, obviously they're different prospects, so we want to talk about who they are. But yeah, Wilson, great route runner. He's got a lot of speed and explosiveness coming off of that. Something I didn't like is he did drop the ball a little bit, so he doesn't have the greatest hands. His separation can be an issue at some points, and I really wasn't a fan of his release, but he tracks the ball really well. He is just so impressive when you go see him making these catches. He's able to just contort his body to go up and make the play. Like, if he needs to lay out and dive for the football, he's going to be able to go and make that catch. He's got the big playability down the field. Versatility, I would say, isn't the greatest. I would say, he might be able to play both outside and slot, but I personally like him as a slot receiver. But that's honestly to the eye of the beholder. Maybe a lot of you think, oh, he can play outside or he can play in the slot. That's just my opinion. And I think Garrett Wilson is a very talented receiver. And a lot of people think that he's going to be the first receiver off the board. And I definitely could see him being the first receiver off the board. And I think he will be the first receiver off the board due to the situation with my number one receiver. But still, in true talent, I do believe Garrett Wilson is the second best receiver. And during his time at Ohio State, he had 143 receptions for 2,213 yards. He averaged about 15.5 yards per play, and he scored 23 touchdowns for the Buckeyes. And then coming in at number one, it's got to be Jameson Williams. And I think a lot of the reason that he slid down the draft boards for a lot of people is his ACL injury. But a lot of people saying that is coming along nicely, and I still believe he is the top receiver in this class. He's 6'1", he's 6 foot 1.5 feet tall, 179 pounds. He is an excellent receiver. He's an excellent route runner. I would say the best route runner behind Chris Olave in this class. He's got surefire hands. He's going to catch almost anything that comes his way. He's got great separation and great release. He's got the speed and explosiveness to back it up coming off the line of scrimmage. He's going to get a lot of run and yards after catch. He's tracking the ball really well. He's got the IQ to make these plays and to adjust his route when needed to. He's got the versatility to play on the outside or in the slot, and he's just a big play waiting to happen. He was so impressive to me at Alabama. Of course, he had like a couple seasons at Ohio State before transferring to Alabama, but he was just so impressive this past season with Bryce Young, who I think is going to be the top quarterback in next year's draft. And to me, Jameson Williams is the number one receiver. I think someone is going to get a steal with Jameson Williams. Because of his injury, I do believe he'll fall, and someone is going to be rewarded for taking a shot on him somewhere in the mid-first round. And yeah, he just impressed me so much. He is my number one receiver in this class. And during his time with Alabama and a little bit of time at Ohio State, he had 94 receptions for 1,838 yards, 19.6 yards average per play, and 18 touchdowns. Well, that was my wide receiver rankings. Let me know what your receiver rankings are in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Thank you for watching.